Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew. It is Wednesday, the 17th of May, 2023. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. I had real trouble there getting your chat up, which actually, yeah. And also, you might hear a bunch of, oh, hang on, echo. You might hear a bunch of stuff coming from the garden as we are having scaffolding erected literally outside this room, and so there might be a bit of noise. And the guys turned up exactly at 9:30, which was when I hoped to start the show. So yeah, that went tits up, didn't it? Okay, so yeah, straight into the chat here. We've got Fakopuni saying hi there. We've got Cathal saying morning all. We've got Lucy Willis saying hello. We've got Labour Social apologising profusely for having some technical gremlins. We've got Mad Monk saying good morning, everyone, which is nice. Freckle Peony's there. And also Daily Blase. Morning Brew has been a failure. Thanks. Oh, you're getting. Oh, it's a joke. I'll get in and do Farage. Yeah, it's all turned out very, very bad for everyone, as no one could have ever possibly foreseen. No one could have possibly foreseen this nightmare that was going to be Morning Brew or Brexit or the Tory party being in charge for 31 of the last 44 years. Talking of which, let's get into it. So yeah, so there's a couple of things in the news this morning that I want to discuss. First of all, I just want to mention the 40 new hospitals, the 40 new hospitals that they promised. So far, work hasn't even started on 33 of them. Yeah, they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready by 2030. If you can believe that. The Tories, classic Tory trick of just leaving it to someone else to clean up their messes. And talking of that, the big news today is the fact that the Tories want to get rid of their own policy. The policy of Section 21, which is no-fault evictions. So for a long time, we had a situation in which you couldn't get divorced unless it was someone's fault. So there had to be adultery, a breakdown of communication, some other stuff. I don't know. I've never been married. I've never been divorced. But it was very difficult. It was very complicated. In fact, it was more difficult to get divorced and more expensive to get divorced than it was to get married, which seems crazy to me. I think it should be more difficult to get married and possibly easier to get divorced. But yeah, for a long time, there was no such thing as a no-fault divorce, where you could just like say, hey, this didn't work out. Nobody's fault. We're still friends. Let's move on. No, someone had to be to blame. And people complained about this. Said, this is ridiculous. How can you have like no-fault divorces, but we have no-fault evictions? So unscrupulous landlords like Sheriff Fatman could send people out into the streets effectively for no reason whatsoever. Families turfed out without having to set up some alternative for them to stay in the interim or anything like that. Obviously, there had to be a little bit of a notice period, but to be able to evict tenants for no reason whatsoever was an absolute disgrace. And it was something that sort of the older generation didn't seem to care so much about, because I think the way that it worked, and someone could correct me in the comments, I'm sure you will, if I'm wrong about this, but if you had a tenancy agreement before 1988, you were still under the old law, so you couldn't be evicted for no reason. So a lot of elderly people stayed in the same flat or house that they'd been living in for years at a very low rent, and the landlord could not get rid of them until they passed away. And by now, it's 2023. Obviously, it's a long time since 1988. A lot of those people have now passed away, to the point where the Tories are like, oh, maybe we should backheel this law that we put in place, the law of no fault evictions, which is monstrous. I mean, it's literally turfing someone out of their home, where they live. The situation with landlords, for me, is ridiculous anyway, because we have a situation in which you have people renting who are, and I know there's going to be some landlords in the chat who are going to go, no, Graham, you got it all wrong. But basically, there are some landlords out there, not all, hashtag not all landlords, but there are some landlords out there who aren't very nice people. And what they do is they buy houses. Well, they don't buy houses, they get a mortgage on a house. An extra house. They've already got a house. They've already got one to live in, but then they buy some more to let. Buy to let. And what they do with that is they get someone else to pay the mortgage for that house, which they then own after the end of the 25 years or whatever the mortgage is, the length of the mortgage. So you literally have someone else pay for you to have an extra house. And it gets better. If they're on benefits, there's a good chance that you're taking money from the government, you're taking money from the taxpayer that could be spent on hospitals and schools and fixing the potholes. But no, you're using that money through your tenant's rent to buy yourself a second house or a third house or a fourth. Do you see how that could be seen as like morally kind of a little bit indefensible? Kind of a little, especially when we have so many homeless people in this country and we have a housing waiting list and all this. We're told that it's the fault of the couple hundred people coming across in boats. That it's all their fault, but this has been going on for years. But also, this leads into an interesting thing of like, this is the Tories saying they're going to undo a Tory thing, a thing that the Tories brought in. Do you think in a few years' time they're going to be saying, "Oh, you know, this whole Brexit thing, I think we're going to have to undo it," and it'd be like, "But this is the thing that you wanted. This is the thing that you campaigned for. This is the thing that you foisted on the nation." Yeah, yeah, but we're going to undo that. Vote for us in 2034 or whenever they're going to try and have a realistic chance of getting back in by the behaviour of Suella Braverman at the Nazi conference, don't get that mixed up. Yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. Yeah, judging by her performance, they're going to be a long time out of office. Let's just put it that way. Great. So back into the comments. Morning, everyone, says Ben. We've also got eye up from Richard. We've got John saying, at least they're not drilling. Well, give it a minute. give them a moment. Give them a moment to adjust their wellies. Crazy idea to please everyone. No fault means 12 months notice. Yeah, pineapple. That's a pretty good idea. We could have. My idea is that we stop this stupid law that we have at the moment, and we have many silly laws, but we change it so that councils can be landlords. At the moment, councils are not allowed to be private landlords. They can have social housing and social tenants, but they can't have private tenants in a council-owned building, which I think is a bit mad. Well, you can have it in a building, sorry, in a house, which I think, why have you got that rule? So what I would like to see is when a council, say in Liverpool, like Toxteth in Liverpool has been a regeneration area since the war. Yeah, since 1945, Toxteth has been a regeneration area. And what happens is every few years the council will decide, oh, we need to knock down this substandard housing that they built 20 years earlier and build some better housing, which is always a bit substandard because it's going to be for social tenants. And you create a community of people who everyone there is feeling a little bit desperate, feeling like they haven't got much in the way of disposable income, and it's not a great way to grow a community. What it does is it tends to foster ghettos. I don't use that word lightly. I mean, I know there's going to be people watching this probably going, "What are you saying about Graham ghettos?" But the idea of having an area in which people live, in which everyone in that area is of the lower economic bracket, it does create areas that are impoverished, where people don't have as much money to spend in their local area. You see what I mean? Like in the local shops, the local butchers, local bakeries. Just because everyone's on a slightly lower economic bracket in that area. A better way to do it would be to have mixed housing in the same area, built and owned by the council, and you have a mix of private tenants and social tenants. And so the social tenants are paying their rent, what they pay to the council, so that helps with building more houses and services and things like that. So that's what I would do. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that, and there'll be loads of nuances and things. But generally speaking, I think it's a crazy law that we have to have private developers like Red Row and Pemison, building all this stuff for profit when people need homes. People need homes. It is I think it should be a basic human right to have a house, some heating, and something to eat. No, Graham, you're right. Oh, okay. Thanks, Shizek32. I don't know what I'm right about. It was an older comment, but it checks out. Nick Fletcher says, "What will stop a landlord claiming need to sell a property? You move out and you just rent it again." Exactly. Mars Jeddah says, "I've just been reading the English rental reforms. The Scottish laws are much tighter in favour of the tenants. I can't believe the English law, it definitely needs reform." It absolutely needs reform. But don't forget, this is a Tory law. This is a Tory law, and we're seeing this time and time again. I go on about the trains ad nauseum. I know I'm a little bit obsessed with the fact that in the 1960s, the Tories under the Transport Secretary at the time, Ernest Marples, gutted the British Railways. It'll be like the equivalent today of just shutting down the M6. Just that's it. We're just going to shut it down. Why? Oh, well, there's other roads. People can take other roads, and you're like, yeah, but you're just building up a load of problems for the future if you close down this road now with nothing to replace it with. In the 1960s, said, "Oh no, we're going to replace all of these trains with cars, and cars usually traveling with one person in it. They're commuting." And there's a great photo. You've probably all seen it. It's a bit of a meme, and it's like thousands of cars, and it says this is this is 1,000 people, effectively, or hundreds of cars. And I mean, obviously, some of them have two people in. And then next to it is a train, and it just takes up so less space. If you think about how wide a motorway is compared with how wide a two track train is, a train line, it's madness. It is absolute madness what the Tories did, and they cheated. The same thing they did with the Brexit referendum, and the same thing they did with voter ID. They cheated. They gamed the system. So, for instance, they had this guy Beeching who always gets the stick for getting rid of our trains. It's called the Beeching Axe. It shouldn't. It should be called the Marples, the criminal, terrorist wanted criminal Marples Act, because he fled the country owing the taxman £2 million. And basically, this guy, he sent people out. This is Beeching. He was commissioned. He was from ICI. He was from industry. He was brought in by the government to find out how they can make the railways profitable or better or something. And he purposely sent people out on like Sundays to go to sit on train stations and count how many people are using the train on a Sunday. And they were like, "Oh, only 10 people use the train today. We would get rid of this one." We've just been told that the local bus service is going to stop on Sunday here in Durham, where I live. Basically, they're stopping the Sunday service. So on Sundays, I've got a long walk up a very steep hill. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I don't need a hip replacement, but if you do, good luck with that. Yeah, so basically staying on Sundays in Durham on a particular bus route that I happen to be on. Don't fancy doxing myself live on air, but yeah, it's a bit rum. Public transport should be for the public. It should be basically free, and the idea that people are making a profit out of it, the fact that foreign shareholders and foreign execs are making a profit out of our trains and our buses, just it goes through me. It goes through me. David Faulkner, thank you very much. 38 Hong Kong dollars there for Super Chat. Yes, don't forget Super Chats are on. And this is my full-time job now. So if anyone else wants to throw in a Super Chat, I would really, really appreciate it. And he says, even Farage has now admitted that Brexit has been a failure. Yep. I mean, and he said he'd leave the country, didn't he? He said if it was a disaster, he would leave the country. So, yeah, go on. Off your pop, Nigel. Go on. Don't let the door hit your arse on the way out. Maybe you could go somewhere nice where there's no foreigners. Some other country where there's no foreigners in that country. That'd be great. And the Heritage Foundation is involved. The Heritage Foundation, which is I think that the American right-wing think tank horror show, which is just going around gerrymandering and trying to find ways to rig democracy in their favor. Yeah, because they've had a bit of a problem, because for years they could just tell sort of people what to think through their media, through their newspapers and things that they own. They can't really do that anymore because of the internet, and the younger generations coming up just see through their bullshit. But yeah, it's they're trying very hard. Voter suppression, it's a big thing, and Rees-Mogg admitted that the government had done this. That's malfeasance, isn't it? That's malpractice. That's maladjusted, malaprops. It's a maladrot. I don't know. It's a very bad thing. Misappropriation. No. Misanthropy. No. Something like that. I'm a leftist. Good job. His wife is German, so he could go there. Oh God. Do they want him? Farage needs to believe harder in Brexit. If he went to Germany, he could be our new William Joyce, couldn't he? He could be our new Lord Haw-Haw. I always thought he was a bit haw-hawish. Oh, thanks very much, Lee Corn. Don't forget, you're a guest on the Snowflake Show tonight at 9:00. I am. I'm getting interviewed for a podcast at 6 about travel. Yeah, get to talk about travel. I love talking about travel. Politics is depressing. And then I'll be chatting with Lee Corn and Reagan Elite at 9:00. So if you want to watch that, it's on the Snowflake Show, which is a channel on YouTube that I suggest that you subscribe to, and maybe Lee can put a link up in the chat. I don't know if you're allowed to, Lee, but if you are, or you could give me a quick WhatsApp and I'll type it in for you if you can't put in links. But yeah, thanks very much for that £5 super chat there. £2, yes, thank you very much. Did we end up in the Fourth Reich, Mosley, UK? That's from One Angry Pagan, and the £2 super chat. Thank you. Yes. what do you want to know? Like, basically, the fascists are in charge of the country at the moment. You only need to listen to the rhetoric of Cruella Braverman. The fact that she a Holocaust survivor said, "Can you tone down the rhetoric a bit, please? It's really, really disturbing." And she's like, "I'm not gonna tone down my rhetoric. I don't see why I should." And you're like, "Oh my god." She's beyond. She's absolutely beyond. And it puts pay to the idea that if you are from an ethnic minority yourself, you can't be racist. You can. Yeah, most definitely can. And she was talking about like white people not feeling guilty. White people shouldn't. Was that her? Was that someone else saying, "Oh, white people shouldn't feel guilty all the time"? And I'm like, I don't feel guilty for being a racist because I'm not a racist. I feel a sense of collective guilt for bad things that my country has done in the past to other people and other countries. I feel that, but then I think that that's not exclusive to my skin color. If you are as British as Suella Braverman thinks she is, she should feel a little bit of collective guilt as well for the horrors that were perpetrated by the British Empire on India, for instance. Just looking at a name of a place there. But for the daughter of immigrants to be so racist, to be full of this hateful Nazi-esque rhetoric is just, it's kind of painful. It's kind of painful, One Angry Pagan. And I can see why you are angry. I can see why Vendetta has a vendetta, and I can see why Duke Vengeance wants vengeance. Very much so. I keep getting told to calm down. I think it's really funny in my when I do those little moments of truth that I'm very animated. People are like, you need to calm down. And I'm like, are you telling a Scouser to calm down? Yeah, sorry about that. Farage could go free, sovereign, independent, not in the EU, Belarus. Yeah, he could go to Belarus. Actually, that'd be brilliant. Send him to Belarus. He can disappear, just like the leader of Belarus. Yeah, Lukashenko, he's disappeared. You heard about this? He's not been seen for a week. If you see Lukashenko anywhere, let me know. Let me know in the chat. The baby stuff seriously alarmed me. We need to produce more babies. Pretty sure Hitler had these views. Jaw on floor. That's some Nick and Diff. Yeah, yeah. If we want to solve the problem, the ticking time bomb, that is, there's lots of older people and there's not so many young people. So there's who's going to look after the old people, when they need help. It's solved by immigration. It's easily solved by immigration. That's why we're going to get the immigration figures very, very soon, which are going to show that up to a million people net migration happened last year. Oh, there's a drill. Yeah, a million people, a million freaking people, guys. That's just nuts, isn't it? Calm down. We're not angry enough. That's what I think, Nick. Exactly. And also, there's quite a few YouTubers. I mean, Phil's very, very laid back. And he's on this channel. Do you know what I mean? So that's all good. Saw him in Tesco Old Swan. Who's that? Who did you see in Tesco Old Swan? Me? Did you see me in Tesco Old Swan? He recently made appearances on TV in Belarus. The funny thing is, there is a drill literally outside my window at the moment. I'll try and bring the microphone over this way. It's very directional. What's this? The overlap between Mein Kampf and NatCon manifesto is scary. I didn't know the NatCon people had a manifesto. We should do a manifesto. I think we should have the Labour social manifesto. I've been thinking about this. Like, we could have an open document that people can contribute to, that you guys can contribute to, and add ideas and stuff like that, and we'll call it like day one or something. It'd be really cool. This is what needs to be done on day one once the Tories are ousted from office. Oh wow, another super chat from Patrick McCarthy. Thank you so much. Restore Trust Restore Trust. They're the people who tried to take over the National Trust, aren't they? Are speaking at the Nazi conference. The Institute of Economic Affairs, which is a Tufton Street think tank, linked. They're the people who told Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng to crash the economy. Why are they intent on taking over the National Trust? Because it's all part of their indoctrination portfolio. They want to indoctrinate people. They want to convince people that they are being lied to, cheated by reality, and they don't want historic houses in the UK to admit to being built with the proceeds from slavery, etc. Another £5 from Angry Pagan. Thank you very much, Angry Pagan. The Tories have distracted us from class war by saying, look, we have coloured people now, hiding the class war through culture wars. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, growing up in a very middle class suburb of Liverpool, going to a very middle class school, probably the most middle class school in Liverpool. I grew up thinking class war. What's that all about? Why would we need that? But now I'm beginning to, well, not beginning to, but now I'm pretty much on board with the idea of taking down the aristocracy a peg or two. And I think there's something else in that, is that when I was a kid in the 1980s, the aristocracy were just seen as an object of ridicule. Ridicule, sorry, there's a drill outside. There was an object of ridicule. Like, we used to laugh at posh people, like inbred posh people with too many teeth for their mouth and no chin. And it was hilarious. We'd go, ha, you crazy rich people doing stupid things. You make us laugh. And it's weird because the 80s and 90s were more sort of meritocracies than we are today. When you saw people on TV, in films, in politics, there was a lot of people who were state educated. Now it's almost completely privately educated. I know I go on about this far too much, but let's face facts. drills. Starmer went to it wasn't a private school when he started, but it became a private school when he was there. Ed Davey was privately educated. Rishi Sunak was privately educated. Lawrence Fox was privately educated, and Richard Tice was privately educated. And the leader of the SNP, whose name is now escaping me, he was also privately educated. So that's like 6 of the big parties in the UK. I can't find out information on the co-leaders of the Greens, but probably, I don't know. But that doesn't scream to me social mobility. That doesn't mean that doesn't scream to me that people like me and you, who went to a state school, could ever hope to become the leader of this country, because we can't even become a leader of a party, a political party, unless we went to the right school. And that, for me, is it's shocking and quite disgraceful, I think, in the way things are going. So yeah, Angry Pagan, I'm all with you. Yuvosh is over there saying Luca has too much tea with Putin. He's fine now. Oh, really? Okay. Well, thanks for the €10 super chat there, Yuvosh. Maggie Pie with Swedish krona, 20 Swedish krona. Can free ports allow anything? Asking for a friend. Yes. Free ports are mad. They're like a suspension of the national law in that area, especially when it comes to, I don't think murder. I don't think you're there with murder because you were doing it in a free port. But when it comes to the laws that we have governing regulations for health and safety, and for the amount of shit you can put in the river, and for the amount of heavy metals you can put into the water courses, all that kind of stuff kind of goes away in a free port. And it's probably one of the reasons why we did away with them. I mean, we had them when we were in the EU, and we got rid of them because they just weren't any use. But we've heard recently, or yesterday, Vauxhall are like, guys, we're out of here. Vauxhall are promised to make electric cars in this country, and I'm like, hey, guys, listen, I know we're one of the biggest companies in the world, car companies, but yeah, we can't do business under these current Brexit trading agreements. So they're going to be pushing for free ports because it means they don't have to be under the same rules as the rest of the country. So again, we're going to have these little areas, little enclaves, like Northern Ireland. It's not an enclave, I know, but like Northern, well, it kind of is, like Northern Ireland, where they have different rules for different parts of the UK. Which is fine, we have different rules in different cities and where you can park. We Marxists were right, says one angry pagan. Well, thanks for the £2 super chat. We'll discuss that on another show, I think. But I think that Marxism and capitalism are very, very closely linked. And you're going to hate me saying this, because I think they both fail to take into account human beings' emotion. They're quite mathematical solutions to what is probably, if you look at it, an emotional problem with humans, or a psychological problem. So let's say I think they fail to take into account human psychology. So capitalism, obviously, it fails to take into account that people are horrifically greedy and will just keep trying to take as much money as they can and screw the planet and everybody else in the process. Whereas Marx didn't take into account the fact that people are greedy, and if there's a system in place, there are going to be some people who are going to scam the system. And that's why every single communist system so far that have been tried in the UK, with the notable exception of Kerala in India, perhaps, have been set up in a way that the elite have become richer and the people who aren't the elite have become poorer. Yeah, psychology. Anyway, right, moving back onto politics for a moment. I'm going to wrap up in a moment because the drills are starting, because they're putting this scaffolding outside. I don't know how the hell I'm going to do PMQs at 12 o'clock, but I'm going to try anyway. George wants to know, have I seen the film The Riot Club? No, I haven't. I've seen Fight Club. That evil Starmer. Okay, great. My first gay parade was in Birmingham. I love. My second was in Manchester. I'm with you. Like, was I at Pride in Manchester? Okay. I'll love to become prime minister. I'm afraid I'm not British enough. I'm not sure about the murder part. Right to life can probably be suspended in a Freeport too. Probably. I'll just say it was criminal. Was it corporate manslaughter? It's probably suspended. I don't know. The cons got rid of Freeports in 2013. Yeah, it was pretty recent. The Frecklepini says there was a scene in the brilliant movie Downfall where Hitler answers privately educated officer class who are the only officers because they know how to hold a knife and fork. Who are only officers because they know how to hold a knife and fork. Yeah. That's the people we have in charge right now. And they just tell you what you want to hear, which is kind of painful. I mean, this is the government. I'm guessing what they're going to do. So they knackered the trains in the 1960s, and now trains cost £250 to go anywhere and never turn up. They knackered trade unions in the 1980s. They brought in laws such as the one where you've got to have over 50% of the ballots from members need to be balloted. Over 50% of them need to agree to a strike. And it's a postal vote. It can't be done online. Don't forget the selection process for our newest prime minister. Oh no, not this one. The one before was done. Well, both of them, I guess, was done online, right? And you had people who weren't even British, who were members of the Conservative Party, voting for who our prime minister was going to be. That was done online, but if you're going to go on strike, you've got to have a postal ballot. And think about how expensive this is, because you've got to have a stamped addressed envelope, whatever it's called, sent out to you, free post, so you can send your ballot back. So it costs the unions, and therefore the membership of the unions, loads of money just to ballot for a strike. You know, it's up millions just to ballot for a strike, when it could just be done on a website really easily. But the Tories don't want people going on strike. They want to stop people from voting. They want to stop people from protesting. They want to stop people from living. They just want people to exist and make money for the Tories. So there you go. So Freeports can't legalise all drugs. Too bad, says Maggie Pie. With a 20 kroner contribution there. Thank you very much for the 20 kroners. Yeah, I guess so. And then Alec is there saying, time for socialistic capitalism. Classic liberal fudge. I don't know if that's a criticism or not, Alec, but yeah. Basically, take the best parts of socialism, take the best parts of capitalism and make them work, and make sure that the bad parts of them are squashed down, and that we don't have... One of the things that they've found, there's a book called... I've forgotten the name of the book now. That's embarrassing. There's a book about the happiness, basically, of different societies around the world, and what they found was societies in which the gap between the richest and the poorest people is the smallest are the happiest. Are the happiest societies, and the ones where the gap is the biggest are the most unhappy societies. The spirit level. It's called the spirit level. There you go. Look that up. Anyway, right. I am going to be back at 12 o'clock for Prime Minister's Questions, and I'm going to be back again on the Snowflake Show at 9 o'clock tonight with Lee Korn and Reagan Elite. So I hope to see you there. In the meantime, if you want to head over to the Discord server, I'll be there for a little bit after the show, and you can listen to the builders building outside for a little bit if you want to listen to that. If you want to... Oh, sorry. I shouldn't touch the mic when I'm doing this. If you want to join us on the Discord server, you need to be a YouTube member or a patron. So the Patreon link is in the description below. If you sign up, you should have a link. And then once you have that link, you should be able to send me a message to say, give me full access. The way the link works is basically if anyone can use it, but anyone can't have full access to the server. They can just read messages on there. If you want full service membership, then I have to give you that. So yes, or Reagan Elise, if Reagan Elise helping out as well. I don't know if he is. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. You are amazing. Phil will be back tomorrow for another Morning Brew with Phil on Thursday. And until 12 o'clock, if you want to join me for Prime Minister's Questions, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and one second. It's coming. Goodbye. Fucking drill.